Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Director, Hermitage Museum, Russia, Mikhail Piotrovsky.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أنا مسرور جدا أن أكون هنا في هذه الجلسة وهذا المؤتمر وإمكانية أتكلم عن الثقافة وفلسفة الثقافة وأهمية الثقافة في ظروف أو في جو رأس مال والاقتصاد والأشياء الأخرى. I'm Mikhail Piotrovsky and I am very glad to speak today here about the cultural capital philosophy of culture in the world which needs culture more and more and more. I'm speaking of the experience of the Museum of Hermitage Museum, one of the greatest museums in the world, and we have a lot of experience in innovation and in conservation and doing a lot of great things, but it is all based on some philosophical things connected with today. I'm always saying, and I'm cited by this, that we have bridges between the nations. We live in a very difficult situation, a very difficult world. These bridges are blown up from time to time, but the last bridge which must be blown up, or can be blown up, is the bridge of culture. Bridge of culture, because it is the most important thing for the future of humanity. I'm very glad that in the strategy of 2030 in Saudi Arabia, the culture plays such a big role, and as a result of this, I am here. I'm very glad that the Russian Direct Investment Fund is paying great attention to culture in the general policy of investigation, and we see the Russian Cultural Corner here in our Congress, which also shows the importance and interest of culture for everything. Why? Because culture is the most important thing for the future. I'll show you some pictures of Hermitage. For the future, because culture creates a complicated person. We now live in the world which is very simple, black, white, 0, 1, digitalizing, but we need a complicated person who understands all the complicated things for the future. Culture and art develops a person who is ready to meet all the new surprises which technology brings to us. Technology is extremely important. We have seen a lot of wonderful things connected with technology, but it changed. Where is pager? Where is CD-ROM? What will tomorrow will be with all our computers and our new telephones? Things change. And poor humanity is with all these changes. It is unprepared. It must be prepared by culture and art, so for solutions which are very special and sometimes unexpected. Another thing, the culture and museums also help us to live in the global world. Global world, globalization is a thing which is detested by many people. It has a lot of minuses, and one of the pluses of globalization is that we can make cultural heritage, common heritage for all the people. And all these things are important because culture in general is a computer which is not invented yet. We know all our fantastic computers are still very far from what culture can do with the human mind, with the human beliefs, with the human beings. So we try to help people, to make people prepare to these new kinds of computers. Another thing which culture does, culture in the beautiful buildings and other buildings and paintings and all kinds of culture. By the way, this is the oldest carpet in the world, which is in Hermitage. Culture is extremely important for the quality of life, to developing the quality of life. When you have beautiful museums, if you have cultural activities, everybody feels that it is better, everybody feels optimistic for the future. Culture creates jobs. Culture creates jobs, jobs which just existence of these jobs is important for the quality of life. Jobs in the museum and cultural field create such an atmosphere which is really brings people to, well, makes people feel better, even the situation in general, economic situation or political is not so great. There are three sides of culture which we must understand when we speak about the economics and politics and culture. There are three kinds of culture. One is fundamental culture, the culture which is for eternity, the culture which is, well, nations part in competition between the nations in centuries, which makes Russian culture great, Arabic culture great, and so on. This culture, sometimes it needs help from the society, sometimes it takes more time to understand that it is great, but somehow it must be protected. On the basis of this fundamental culture comes a culture which is culture by order. The society needs sometimes you need a raise of the national feelings. Sometimes you need the raise of religious feelings. Sometimes you need a raise of international feelings. This is what the society orders to culture, pays to culture for this, and it is developed. And the third thing is which is called cultural industries, where the culture makes money itself. Nowadays, cultural industries take big part of the budgets of many countries and incomes, films, music, and so on and so on. Museums, in a way, are becoming profitable. So, combining these three things, we must develop the development of society to culture. Society to culture from society is the government, business, and ordinary people. We must have all the three together. So not the business and not the government, and not the ordinary people rule us. All together will help us and rule us. And museums are very important. Museum is a very important part of this strategy of developing culture for the next 30 years, because museum is the main, in the same time, it's a conservative museum, has to keep memory, historical memory, memory of the nation, and present it to the living generation. But at the same time, museum is an innovator. Museum tests all the new technologies. Museum develops some new ways of presenting art to the culture. Museums bring a new spirit of history, spirit of good taste. And we need technology just to have this perfect air condition working good. The air condition which brings you the spirit of history and spirit of good taste. We have to explain our collections. Here you see, well, you have seen the part of our Islamic collection. This is the ring of Shah Jahan, the great Mughal ruler of India, which belonged to him. And here you see the great painting by Kandinsky. You can see a small Kandinsky there in the exhibition hall. It's one of the best Kandinsky paintings. It's composition number 6. It's about the flood, Tufan. The flood, biblical flood, is presented in such a way. The museum as innovator. Hermitage now in last years has built several buildings, restored several buildings. It's a building of general staff, which is a new space for art, and that's where we show the famous Matisse paintings. We developed new spaces to show art in this way. This exhibition in the new spaces of the palace, which are restored and made an exhibition space. We have built new storage facilities. You know, always I was asked as museum director, what percentage of your collection is on show? We explain this and that, but now we are building one after another buildings where you can see all our collections on show, restored, not restored, en masse. Everything is seen or will be seen in the next 5 years. It's our collection of carriages. Working the global thing. Museums are living in the global world, and Hermitage we have a project called Great Hermitage, which means Hermitage in St. Petersburg and Hermitage outside St. Petersburg. This is Hermitage Amsterdam. And this is one of the exhibitions in the Hermitage Amsterdam, exhibition of the Silk Road. This is a project of Hermitage Barcelona, which is now under construction. I think in 2-3 years it will be ready. This is a project of Hermitage Moscow. Moscow will be the last city where we built our branch. It's Hermitage Moscow, which will be specially done for the contemporary art. This is Hermitage Kazan. It's a Russian city on the Volga, Islamic city. And Hermitage Kazan, there we're opening exhibition on Islamic art there with former president of Tatarstan, Mentimir Shaimiev, and the chief mufti of Russian Federation. This is Hermitage of building where we'll have Hermitage Yekaterinburg, and the city, it's a city in the Urals where our collections have been kept during the war. This is Hermitage Kaluga, Hermitage Vyborg, a city on the road from St. Petersburg to Finland, with small exhibitions. And museums live, as I told, with society. We depend on society to keep museums, because we can't work just for the profit. We can make money, but it mustn't be our goal. That's why we depend on the society. And one of the things which are important, these are gifts. Gifts is we give subsidies, we get money, but we need gifts from everybody. And these are some gifts which Hermitage has got last years. It's a black square of Malevich, the icon of modern art, gift from one of the Russian greatest businessmen. And this is a gift from our president. This is a famous Rothschild egg by Fabergé, bought in the West, brought to Russia and given to Hermitage. This is another Fabergé thing. It's a great clock which was given by Alexander III, Emperor of Russia, to his wife on the anniversary of their wedding, also bought in the West and brought to Russia. And this is just a recent thing, just 2 weeks ago, when President Putin was visiting Hermitage together with the Chancellor of Austria. He presented us these beautiful things, which is the Field Marshal staff. This is a staff with Field Marshal, the highest rank in European armies, have been accepting. And this one was done for the Emperor Alexander II, because he was participating in many military activities and wars. It was done for him. Also was then given to, after his death, to another field marshal, then to another, then ended in the West, then also ended in the auction, bought at the auction by Russian mécènes and brought back to Russia. This is one of the great symbols of connections between museum and society. We prepare, we speak about the future, we speak about the past, we prepare the world to the future, and society appreciates it and gives us the gift through the rulers or through the ordinary people who pay for the tickets. Thank you very much. It's a little bit about our philosophy.